Hey, I'm Dan Harris. I am a fidgety, skeptical newsman who had a panic attack live on Good Morning America.
To prescribe statins slowly for cancer production.
That led me to something I always thought was ridiculous, meditation. I wrote a book about it, launched an app, and now I'm starting this podcast to try to figure out if there's anything beyond 10%. Basically, here's what I'm obsessed with. Can you be an ambitious person who is nonetheless striving for enlightenment, whatever that means? Let's start the show. Alan, great to meet you.
You too, Dan. Yes, finally.
You've been such a pleasant presence in my life when you've popped up, but I've never actually met you in person. I've seen you on video and on email. Let me start with a question that we kind of focus on here, which is, are you still meditating?
Yes, I am. No, I mean, I've kind of dropped off the wagon, or whatever you call it. Fallen off the wagon a little bit, but no, I still do it. Yeah.
How did you start?
I just started doing it myself. I just started just closing my eyes and just kind of having, realizing that it would be really nice to just block everything out for a while.
How'd that go for you?
Pretty well.
Really?
Yeah.
You're able to literally block everything out.
Just sometimes when you think, I could get really stressed out by this, or people are really annoying me, or, I could, I'm going to make an executive decision with my brain to just go inside for a little bit. That's really, so that's why I started doing it. And then I wanted to try and formalize it a bit more and, and kind of try and make it more, have more of a practice at it instead of just it being in crisis moments, or else just at times when I would think I think sometimes you do it without realizing when you have when your life changes and you have very, very quiet time. I was just in Scotland in this island called Barra, and I was there on my own for a couple of days, and I felt like I'd done a lot of meditation without actually doing it in the way that I normally would do it, which would be to kind of, sequester myself and really focus on it.
When you're doing it formally,
yes.
What do you do? What's your
I sit
technique?
on a low chair. I have my hands on my knees, and I breathe. I start to breathe. I start to think about my breathing, and then I just
feel the breath coming in and going out.
And I try to do. I mean, I love that. The thing I've got written in my book, actually, from your audio thing, is respond, don't react.
Yeah, well,
that's my favorite thing.
That really stuck out to you.
Yeah.
I should just tell everybody that you were very kind, even though we didn't know each other. We have one mutual friend who asked you when I was launching the 10% Happier app whether you would try it out and maybe make some little videos on your phone and talk about your experience, and you did, which I'm eternally grateful for. And they were incredibly charming, which is not surprising at all, given what we know about you. And the thing that really stuck out to you, which is what we're finding with a lot of our users, is respond, not react.
Is that been a popular thing? Yeah.
I think we need to make T-shirts that say it. Why is it? What speaks to you about that?
It was really because it was something I realized I did hugely and had not questioned at all. It was like someone suddenly kind of, peeling off their face, and it's someone, and it was a completely different person, and I was like, what? And it's just something. It makes such sense to just. I mean, I guess it's the whole thing in microcosm for me. I suppose it's just like take a step back, and just sort of think, okay, what's the best situation here? What's the best way to deal with this? And then make a kind of qualified and studied decision about how you're going to respond.
I mean, look. I mean, I will say. I mean, I've been meditating for a couple of years now. It's become a guiding principle in my life, but I fail all the time. So are you able to implement it with any success?
Responding and not reacting.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty good at it. I think I'm actually. And also yes, I think I actually am very. And I've noticed that with other people, that's people around me. I'll say, okay, don't reply to that email right now. Let's just wait a minute. Let's just, let's rest and let's see how we feel after 5 minutes.
I still struggle with that.
Right. I mean, it's a struggle. I'm sure it's a constant struggle. I mean, I want a lot of, but I think actually I have got better at that, and I think I have sort of passed that into my, community a little.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Especially with Jimmy, my assistant. I'm thinking about right now, very much so. Yeah, I even yesterday there was a thing where he was responding. He goes, "How about that?" He showed me the thing. I was like, "That no."
He showed you the email he was about to send.
Yeah, and I said, "Take that paragraph out. Let's just not do that. Let's just leave it. Let's just, it's not." Because I think, I mean, my mum always says, and I think it's a really lovely thing that she always says it's not, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. And I feel like any situation, there is no situation in the world that cannot be dealt with better than with kindness. I think even when you want to punch someone in the face, stick a step back and try and be kind about it, and it will go better.
Amen. Mm-hmm. But easier said than done in some cases.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. But I think that's the thing. Like with meditation, if you have to kind of like sort of hypnotize yourself into. I mean, it is like that, isn't it? It's just kind of mesmerizing yourself into a pattern.
I think about it more like training. It's just like we train ourselves in the gym. Yeah. You train your vocal cords to sing.
Yeah.
It's a skill. You just get better and better at it. But I think that's interesting. I think of that you say training, I say mesmerizing. I think I mesmerize my body into looking a certain way when I train. Huh.
And I think I think my job is to mesmerize people.
Well, you succeed at that. I will say. And I want to talk a lot about your performing coming up, but just on the meditation tip, as it were. So you said, and I agree, that your mother's little maxim is amazing. Mm. You're wearing a hat right now that says "Make America Gay Again," which is an amazing hat. Do you think you could practice kindness with somebody like Donald Trump?
Yes, I could. I mean, I think because I feel that he's an example of the kind of person you absolutely should use kindness with, because his modus operandi is completely to be mean and to be aggressive and to undercut someone and to insult someone and to, be offensive. So I think actually more so, I mean, we're really talking a challenge, of course, but I think, if I was in a room with Donald Trump and I wanted to have a conversation with him, I would absolutely try and do it with great dignity and kindness, because I think he expects people not to have those qualities. He lives in a world where people don't have those qualities, and that's what he's trying to sell to the world, to America right now. And so I think absolutely all the more reason to remind him that it is possible.
You think that kind of approach would have worked with your dad, who you write about quite movingly in your new book, You Gotta Get Bigger Dreams? I'm holding a galley copy, which is not. This isn't the way it actually looks. And this is your third book.
Yeah.
Your previous book, Not My Father's Son, which was a New York Times bestseller, in which you really really excavate that relationship.
Yeah.
So I wonder, would this ethos work in that context?
Well, I think the very fact that I have that ethos is completely due to the fact that I am my father's son, and that's I've learned a lot about how to deal with people and difficult people from my early life. But I also think, yes, I would definitely try to. I mean, as an adult, I would try to. As a child, I didn't have much choice, but I didn't really ever do anything. I mean, aside from one time when I went to confront my father with my brother when I was an adult, and I still was kind. I was just more blunt with him.
Is he still around?
No, he died. But also, I mean, I think my father was, it's difficult when someone I think is mentally ill or has personality disorders. Those kind of rules are harder to use, the kindness and the kind of logic, because someone is illogical, and you won't get reason from an unreasonable person.
On your dad, how bad did it get? I mean, because in the new book, you make kind of oblique references to it. I ripped a page out because I was curious about it, and I wanted to ask you about it. You're talking about how in this page, how you're a party animal and you love going out at night, and you thought for a while that your eagerness to dance and have fun was because you never had unadulterated joy, or you rarely had unadulterated joy as a child. Mm. How bad did it get?
It was more. I mean, he was very violent sometimes, very violent, like throwing me. I flew across the room, and with the force of his, strike. But it was more really this kind of atmosphere of absolute fear and silence. I remember my childhood being so silent and just being in a constant state of anxiety about when he was going to erupt next and just what I was going to do to, make him explode and get violent with me. So it was. I mean, in a way, I think that's a more potent and terrifying thing. Is this overlying foreboding and just complete, terror, real terror. So that was my childhood. That was like a really large part of my childhood. And I remember it just being incredibly silent, like nobody speaking. Everyone knew it would be better to get through if you just keep your head down. And I understand that now. I've been in other situations where I have worked with tyrants, and I see how the best way to deal with them actually is to keep your head down and move forward and not to draw attention to yourself.
But that just for those of us who see your performances in The Good Wife or on stage at Cabaret or other movies you've done like Spy Kids or X-Men, I don't pick up even a whiff of an unhappy child. You seem so comfortable in your own skin.
Oh, I am now. But I don't, I think that's what, in a way, that's what my last book was about how you can, and why I'm really, really glad I wrote it. I didn't expect this kind of part of the process, but like being able to tell people that you can overcome and sort of rise up from something really, really debilitating and potentially completely damaging and have a life that is joyful and successful. And I mean that not in anything to do with my work.
How do you do it?
I mean, I think I'm a very strong-willed person, and I talk about in the last book a decision I made to not allow shame into my life. I don't know how that happened, but I remember the moment precisely when I rejected shame, and I think I kind of like the way that meditation works, mesmerized myself or trained myself into just thinking no, it wasn't easy, and it was lots of hiccups along the way, but like saying I'm good enough, I'm fine, it wasn't me, and I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to move forward and not let this baggage from my past dictate my present or my future.
I think that's to do that through sheer force of will is, or at least in part through sheer force of will, is pretty amazing.
Some therapy along the way.
Yeah, well, I have nothing against therapy. That's all good in my book. But you mentioned meditation there. To the extent that you said you kind of fall off the wagon or get back on the wagon, I'm always curious about this. Why is it a hard habit to make an abiding one?
For me, it's because of lack of routine in my life. It's really, when I have a routine, I mean, I'm an actor and I do like this. If you saw my book with all my schedule for the last couple of weeks, it's been crazy. In the last week I've been, in the remote Western Isles of Scotland, Lebanon, back to London, Edinburgh, New York, LA, New York. That's really in the last week, and now I'm on a book tour, and I'm here till Friday, and then I go off again. So I don't have I really do crave. That's why I love when I'm in a play. I love going to work at the same time every day. I love, eating my meals at the same. I mean, it sounds really sort of pedantic, and I know because a lot of people who have that kind of are bored of it and wish they had more of a kind of, I'm flying off to here today. But I think that's what makes things like meditation difficult for me, is that I don't have a pattern, like I do this at this time. And I even just right now, I've got my swimming costume in my bag because I have an hour later I'm going to go swimming because I really crave. I feel like I feel swimming's a very meditative thing actually.
Yes.
I love that, just
yes.
that quiet and I really get to think. And also nobody recognises me, in a swimming pool. That's really good. Like in a gym, people see you in sweating. And
does that get annoying? People recognizing you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But, I mean, on the one hand, I can see how it would be annoying, but also if people aren't recognizing you, the fact that people are recognizing you is a sign that you're doing something right, that you've achieved a success, that your performances are memorable, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. I mean, it's sort of. I don't really quantify it in that way, and I wonder what would happen if. I mean, I remember one time when I was 40, so quite a long time ago.
What? Really?
Yeah, I'm 51.
You wear it well. Do you
Why?
sleep in formaldehyde?
No, I don't. I sleep in not enough of it. At least not last night. I was DJing at my own book launch party. And then I guess it was such fun, I kept on DJing even after the party was finished and it became another party. And then the real DJ got jealous and chucked me out. I got like a DJ. Oh, sorry. DJ blocked. But no, on the night, when you have these big birthdays, you have a sort of, reckoning and maybe a little flip out. Mm-hmm. And my flip out on the night before my 40th birthday was, I was weeping. I mean, I'd had a few drinks, of course. I was weeping and just like, and Grant, my husband, said to him, "What is it? What is it?" And I just went, "I don't want to be famous anymore." And I was at the Sundance Film Festival, which I don't know if you've been to that. It's just, It's like, I was there for like a whole week, and I had a film there, but also I was doing this thing for the Sundance Channel, interviewing people. It felt like people hitting your head like this all day, like 24 hours a day. That's what it feels like. Just people at you, and they've got these little, fences along the main street, so you can't cross the roads. It's just so intense, and I reached my ceiling with it, with people, and it, and it's a kind of it's like a celebrity petting zoo. That happens quite a lot in those situations. But I realised, why I was sad as well, was I realised even if I stopped, never made another film, never did another performance or anything, it would go on for such a long time, even without me doing anything to exacerbate it.
What if you stopped it and it all went away? Would you miss it?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? That's kind of my point. Because it won't go away. It would go away it'd be a long time before it did. Right. Totally go away
because of the long tail of the work you've already done.
Yeah, because I'm old, and because it's just old things are on TV all the time, and people remember you, and so it wouldn't just stop right now. So it's actually it was actually a very liberating thing, because I thought, I like what I do, I like the fact that I get to do what I want, I like this life I have. Part of why I can do things like write this book or this film I was in earlier this year, and get this film made, is because I'm in quite mainstream things that a lot of people watch, and so I earn. It's like a kind of deposit. I have I get something from the fame bank, and I can deposit in the obscure arty bank, and I really like that transaction. So it's actually all right. It's all going fine, but I can't get off.
But if I'm at home and I'm listening to this interview, my headphones or whatever, I can imagine some people saying, "Oh, I mean, this is a high-class problem, being famous."
Oh, of course it is. Yes. Oh, I'm not pretending otherwise. I'm not moaning. I'm actually saying
you were on your 40th birthday.
I wasn't moaning. I was bemoaning. I think I was having a realization. Actually, I was having a realization, and there's things about it. You reach your ceiling sometimes in certain situations where you're in a public situation, and it's just you feel like I say, this thing of being people tapping your face, like it's like you're being tortured, and it's not torture, of course. It's just like you have no time for yourself, nothing for you, and so I've developed a way to live my life where I can have it all. I think I have the benefits of what it brings. I do the things that I have to do, and I also live a life where I don't hide, and I've made myself, exist in the public world. I haven't cut myself off, and I think that's the way to go. It's all a transaction and a negotiation to find the kind of life that you want to live. And I want to be able to walk along the streets and have fun and go to bars and not worry about people, not being in the papers for doing something ridiculous. I think I've managed to craft a life for myself where I can be who I want to be and still be the personality in the world that allows me to do the kind of work I want to do.
And just studying up for this podcast, I mean, the array of things you do is just dizzying. You tour and do, I may get this wrong, is it Alan Cumming sings sappy songs?
That's correct.
So you sing songs all over the place, all over the world. You are on TV shows, you're in movies. As we said, this is your third book. That's a lot to keep on the track. So let me ask you about this new book, You Got to Get Bigger Dreams, My Life in Stories and Pictures, out as we tape this out yesterday. What was the impetus for writing this book?
Well, actually, I wanted to do a book like this for a while before my last one, actually, because some of the stories, like the Gore Vidal stories, a story about a weekend I spent with Gore Vidal, and I that was in 2001, and I wrote it quite soon afterwards, in the next couple of years after that. So that's a long time ago. So I've had these, and then I've updated it and kind of added to it. But some of these stories were, from a long time ago, and a lot of the photos are from a long time ago. So I was kind of like doing that, doing a little bit of writing, trying to get a collection together, and then all the stuff happened with my father and my grandfather in 2010, and that's why I wrote Not My Father's Son. So in a way, this is the book that I kind of meant to write a while ago, and then circumstances dictated, So going back to it was really nice because I felt a little more confident, and also I felt like I'd already written a book very revealing about my life, and now this was a book that was more about a kind of more fun side of my life mostly, and I think photos are a good way, literally a snapshot into my life, because I am doing what Gore Vidal told me to do. I meet fascinating people like him, and I write about them and analyse them. So, I wanted to call this book, I Am Writing This Because Gore Vidal Told Me To, but they wouldn't let me because they said it was too long. Because that's why I called the stories called that, about him.
You got to get bigger dreams. Where does that come from?
That comes from something that Oprah said, because my friend Eddie is an absolute Oprah nut, and Oprah was being honoured by the Elie how do you say it?
Elie Wiesel
Foundation, that dearly departed, and so I got invited to this thing, and I took Eddie as my date, knowing that he would freak out because Oprah was going to be there, and so we went to it, and this is quite a long story in the book, but basically at the end of the year, in the middle of the evening, actually, I realised I was kind of zooming in on Oprah and trying to get him kind of because he was just so desperate for a photo, and I was like, Eddie, I'm not sure that's going to be possible, and you know how much you hate it when people come and bug me when we're having dinner, and he was like, I know, I see your point, but I still want a photo. And so I realised that she was starting to walk towards us, because we were like by the loos, and she was coming to the loos in the dinner break of this ceremony, and I was like, she's coming. So I was kind of trying to unzoom my camera, and I hear Eddie in this little piping choir boy voice going, Oprah, may I have a photo with you? It would be my dream. And Oprah said, you got to get bigger dreams. And I just thought it was so, and I took this awful picture. I mean, it's a great picture, but it's not, technically kind of awful. Half of Oprah's face is in it, looking beatific. And then all of Eddie's face is blurred and manic looking, and it was completely the essence of that moment. Oprah cannot be fully there, she's a goddess. And I thought that even in that moment of huge annoyance, it must be endless. I mean, it happens to me a lot. I can't imagine what it must be like for Oprah, constantly being when you take a step in a public situation, constantly being asked for photographs or people wanted to grab you. Even in that moment, she managed to impart some wisdom, because she was right. Eddie should have bigger dreams. His dreams shouldn't be just to have a photo with Oprah. You know what I mean? And now she has released him to have bigger dreams because he's got that one.
Very cool. Can I have another look at your new Crocs?
Yes. See, these are the latest kind of Crocs.
Yeah, so those are more like Vans,
See,
right?
So that doesn't offend you so much.
Well, I wouldn't. I definitely don't, I'm not offended. I don't know if I would wear them myself, but they look good on you. But I think everything looks good on you.
That's not true, and not the point. I think that's Crocs are different now, and my whole thing with Crocs, why I just love them. I think they're comfy, and I love like pottering around. I love you can get them wet, but also now there's this new. They're going a bit more swanky and new designs. And like last week, when I was in LA for those meetings, I had a little suit on and a pair of grey Crocs like this, and this lady was like, "Alan, are those shoes Prada?" And I was like, "Yes."
Do you receive any money from Crocs?
I have done. I wore them to the Emmys, and they gave me some money for doing that.
Really?
I was going to wear them anyway. That was the great thing. I don't now get money from them. But sometimes people give you money to wear things to things or to attend things. But I was going to go to, I was going to the Emmys anyway because I was nominated, and I just thought I'll wear it. And I saw that Crocs had these new designs, and they had sent me some, and I thought I'm going to wear this because I'll be really comfy, and they're kind of smart and chic, and nobody will know, and it'll be great to sort of go to do the red carpet, and people say, "Who are you wearing?" and you go, Vivienne Westwood and Crocs, and then my manager got them to cough up some cash for me to do that.
Nice.
So I had a one-off payment from Crocs, but that predates or postdates my affection for them, and even my writing of that article.
How would you describe your career ambitions? What are your, to quote Oprah, what are your bigger dreams at age 51, having achieved so much? What do you want to do?
I would like to maintain. I actually really enjoy. I've never had idols or dreams in that way. I've never had, I think, especially in America, people have put so much onus on achievements and goals and things like that. And I feel like everyone's constantly on this, kind of striving for an end when actually they're missing the journey and missing the present. And so I've always been very wary of that. I don't really have dreams. I mean, there's nothing right now that I'm thinking, oh, I really want to do this.
You're just enjoying the ride.
I am, and I think I've always been like that. I really do. I mean, my one thing I wanted to do when I was at drama school was to work at the Citizens Theatre in Glasgow, because they just did really great. I mean, it was so stylish and chic. I thought it was just, they did beautiful design, and they did all these funny European plays that nobody ever had heard of and had seen, and I just thought it was so. I loved it, and it was in this theatre in the middle of the Gorbals, which is this very kind of working class area, and I just loved everything about it. And it was really cheap to go. Well, it was obviously subsidised by the government, of course, but everything about it I just wanted to be a part of. That was my dream.
And did you achieve it?
No. No, I didn't.
You still bitter?
No, I'm kind of like it because it's sort of like, ha, ha. I mean, I remember when I worked for the touring company, and I thought that was so exciting. And then I got a phone call from the director of it saying, and he called me up at home. I was like, oh, this is it. And they said, we would love you to come and join the company. I was like, oh. And he said, we'd love you to play Pinocchio in our Christmas show. And I was like, you, mister. So, because it was always a thing, they would always employ like Scottish people in the Christmas show to do the kind of dopey Christmas show, and then not give those people jobs in the proper season. So and also I was doing something anyway. I wasn't free, but they've asked me since, and also it's different people do it now. It's not the same at all. So it was just a kind of it was a magical time for a few years when it was just something I really, really wanted to do. But I've never since then. I really do feel like I've tumbled through life, and I know that's annoying for people because it looks like I'm this captain of industry of my own, brand or whatever, and I'm not. I just think things would be fun, and I do them. And of course, I
also you have you probably can't say this, but you also have a lot of talent. I mean, that
I'm talented. Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't think them. Yeah, but so lots of people are talented. I do. I mean, I also think it's really annoying when actors say I'm so lucky and blah 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 and #blessed and everything and all those annoying things.
I have a huge problem with #blessed.
Oh, me too.
Thank you for bringing that up.
I hate it.
But
I hate it like you hate Crocs.
Okay, I was just going to say, are you brainwashed by a meme here?
No, I understand the concept of blessed. I just think it's lazy. I think it's a lazy thing to say, to not analyse and to not. I just think it's just not. I don't like it.
I also feel it's like a humble brag. You know what I mean? It's like
I love
saying,
humble brag. Yeah.
Look at my amazing life. Look at my private plane. I'm blessed. It's just like a way to kind of take the edge off of bragging.
Totally. It kind of preempts it. It's sort of. I love that humble brag. Do you follow that on Twitter?
No, I mean I'm aware of it. I don't follow it.
Yeah,
but...
They haven't done much recently, but I just love it. I love another one on Twitter called DJs Complaining. It's all just DJs at like airports and things like that, and it just makes me laugh so much. But yeah, I hate all that. But I do feel also at the same time incredibly lucky. I think I am an example of someone who benefited from circumstance, luck, the confluence of various circumstances. And of course, I am quite talented, but so are many people. And there's many more people much more talented than me. Maybe they don't have the kind of social skills. Maybe they don't have, but I do feel that it's to be in my position, being the kind of person I am, it's completely arbitrary and to do with just, the fates.
One more question before I let you go and get into your swimming costume and go swimming. And this is a kind of a heavy way to end, but you just did a pretty serious thing, which was you went to Lebanon and worked for the UN High Commissioner on Refugees.
Yeah.
Why did you want to do that, and what did you learn?
I wanted to do that because I've just been sort of, over the last few years, looking at the refugee crisis and with horror and all these awful things of these boats and people drowning in the Mediterranean and also seeing how much a massive displacement like that in Syria and Iraq has affected so much of Europe, really devastating the relations within various countries and bringing up really horrible opinions in people. And Brexit, I think the whole Brexit thing was completely influenced by the Syrian refugee crisis and the worry of the other and all these people coming in and Britain has also had a lot. It's been a building thing of asylum seekers from other countries and here, of course, we're all the immigrant word is just completely a touchstone of venom and vileness and racism and xenophobia. And I think that's completely to do with, I think, the world's in this time of everything changing and people moving and being displaced. And so it's affecting everything. And I really wanted to go and just go back to the root of it and see actually what it was like. That's really why, that was my, why I wanted to go.
What did you see?
I saw just people who have had to give up everything and just want to go back home. And they are in these situations that are so bleak, and many of them are still in danger. And many, these kids that are born in these little shelters have never had any other life than being a refugee, and they're in this kind of little lean-to with plastic sheeting, and they're with nothing, and their money, if any savings they had, is 5 years now, it's running out. You see Lebanon, the country of Lebanon, straining at the seams to deal with 30% of the population of Lebanon are now refugees. Isn't that crazy?
Already a country that had its own problems.
Exactly.
So you just add this on top.
And it's, and I met people who, told me stories of what they've been through is incomprehensible to me, to have survived, to have, and I'm someone who's been through things, and I feel I've transcended really dark things in my life. But just, perhaps because of that, seeing that in other people, young people, who saw their friends being, there's a whole LGBT program in the UN refugees, because a lot of these kids that come out, if they are LGBT, they're still in danger. And sometimes the country they might be resettled in will not accept them. And they can't go back. They can't go back, not just because their town is, still being bombed or ISIS is controlling it, because if they go back, they'll be killed immediately because they're gay. And I heard them say they saw their friends being thrown off roofs. They were raped and electrocuted and burned, sometimes by their own families. And I saw there was a man held my hand and said, "Alan, you've got to tell the world we need to be resettled. It's dangerous for us here in Lebanon. It's still, they could still be expatriated back to Syria or Iraq and immediately killed." So it was just this. Overall, I felt like I met a lot of people who are not scary, are not aggressive towards America or the West. Quite the reverse. They are being helped by a great institution like the UN, really, really helped, relying on it. But all they want to do is to go back and have the life that they used to have before all this started. So that was and I realised that, hey, look, this is great, we're talking about it now. I realised this would happen, and I feel that I think it's really good to remind people that don't buy into this rhetoric of hatred and fear, that really this situation is being caused by, they're running from the people we're afraid of too. They're not the people we should be afraid of. and they're not trying to scare us actually. So that was really what I learned, and that the UNHCR is an amazing organisation, and we should try and do. And it's sort of an umbrella thing encompassing many other charities and NGOs and everything, but they coordinate everything, and they've got a great system. I didn't realise this, but they were set up after the Second World War with the plan to only be in existence for a few years to help all the displaced people from the Second World War. And
optimistic viewpoint,
I know,
yeah.
And sadly, after about 20 years, the UN was like, I think we should keep you as a permanent thing, because this is probably going to continue, and it has. And yet, because of that, they have this great history and system of how to deal with these situations. So I was really, really impressed by that. And also, I'd met people who their entire working life has been going around the world helping refugees and setting out systems for people to live in displaced situations. And I felt so full of admiration for them.
Alan, I'm sensitive to your time. Let me just say thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work, the work you're doing, including your new book, You Gotta Get Bigger Dreams. Thank you for opening my eyes to the true inherent beauty of Crocs.
I hope I have.
Thank you for...
I hope you're not just saying that, Dan.
Sometimes I do things
I'm
like
gonna
that.
What size are you?
I'm embarrassed to admit this. I'm a 7. I'm
a 7?
A small man.
I'm going to get you some Crocs.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. And thank you also for being nice to me when you didn't even know me and I didn't deserve it for helping us launch the app. I feel people's energy, and I feel I responded to your essence. My digital essence.
Essence.
Great to meet you in the flesh.
Yes,
I really
it's good.
appreciate it, and good luck on the rest of this book tour.
Thank you.
And the book is very charming and very fun and easy read. And so thank you everybody who's watching or listening to this, and thank you to my team. Sarah, Lauren, Josh, Laura, Dan, Steve, Andrew.
Is Evan?
Is there an Evan? Yeah, that's
Yes.
Evan right there. And that's Jeff. So we got a lot of people who help us make this thing a reality. So thank you, everybody. And hit me on Twitter if you've got some suggestions for me, and we'll see you next week.